Welcome to the September month meeting for the Equity Working Group. Today we have a presentation on Building Upgrades Initiative. We also have a very simple and quick agenda, which is like a brief introduction if someone is new to this group and attending the meeting for the first time, and if there is something interesting or if you're working on like a new project that you would like to share with the group. So moving forward, if there is anyone who has join the group for the first time, attending the meeting for the first time, if you'd like to come forward and introduce yourself to the group, it would be great.
This might be my first time. I'm not
Right.
sure. Okay, it is. Hi, I'm Emily Rosenblum with Northwest Energy Efficiency Alliance, NEA, and I run the residential heat pump water heater program. And we don't have specific initiatives working on equity this year. We do support a lot of the utility programs that are working through their state funds by providing training to contractors that are serving those programs.
Thank you, Emily. I believe Alicia, is this your first meeting as well?
Yeah, it is. Hi, everyone. My name is Alicia Yaffe. I am an energy analyst with the CEC in our efficiency division, policy and analysis unit, an existing buildings branch. I'm excited to be here. I am currently working on SB 48 in California, which is our recommendations report to the legislature for building performance strategy. And we're currently developing our stakeholder analysis and engagement plan, which is heavily focused on equity. So I'm excited to be here and be part of this working group. Thanks.
Thank you so much, Alicia. And Dipti, since you have joined us, would you just want to like give a few words on your last week trip to Energy Star conference?
Yes, definitely. Thank you. I'm so sorry for joining late. I was on another call. And yeah, it was. So I am the manager of technology market transformation here at NEEP, Northeast Energy Efficiency Partnerships. And I was at the Energy Star Products Partners meeting in Minneapolis last week. And it was a very, very great to get together of all the people who are stakeholders in this adoption of heat pumps, heat pump water heaters, envelope initiatives, better buildings. So it was a good place to be in to learn more about what's happening across the country and in different regions, learning about the challenges and how people are working towards overcoming them. And there was a lot of knowledge transfer, like learning from different regions. So yeah, it was a very, very productive meeting. And so a lot of conversations about like the recent EPA funding that Northeast is getting for the CPRG grant. So that was like a whole different conversation. Great to know, like, what we are planning in our region and how we can help with the other regions. It was a good place.
Thank you, Dipti, and congratulations.
Yeah.
So, oh yes, Lucy, you have a question or do you want to share something?
Right. If I could quickly ask Iti question, are the materials going to be available online, and could you share it with me, or like?
Yes. So I think as like Energy Star folk, like once they share or have the slides and all available for us, yeah, I'll be happy to share them.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah, and I can help answer that too. So,
Paul, thank you.
No, and appreciate you bringing up Energy Star's meeting last week. Yeah, I thought it was really, really productive, and I want to thank all those that were a part of it and part of our workshop as well. But yes, within the next couple of weeks, we'll have all the presentations. Energy Star's out seeking approval from all the presenters to put up either what they showed or some version of it. So it'll be out on the Energy Star website under this year's partner meeting header within the next couple of weeks, so you can watch for that.
Thank you so much, Paul. I was actually going to ask you to also give like a little bit brief about the Energy Star conference last week, but I guess you sort of covered it along with Dipti.
Yeah, again, some of our attendees here today played an integral part. They were presenters or panelists. We held a specific heat pump water heater workshop. We did that last year, so we did it again this year. It had some really great participation and breakout sessions. Always a few challenges logistically when you bring that many people together, but I think overall it worked out really well. We'll recap all of that and share that back out with this broader group. But I think Deepti hit on some of the high points. I think everybody's really excited about what the potential is, all this money coming in, the opportunities. Now it's just up to all of us to make sure that it's spent responsibly and with the greatest impact that we all want it to be. So it's going to take a lot of collaboration, lots of varying interests, I think, across the country right now, from region to region, state to state. And so keeping the lines of communication open, continuing to learn from each other is going to be really important.
Thank you so much for that update. So just moving forward, is there anyone else would like to share anything new, or do you want to introduce yourself to the group? Just giving you a minute. Yes, Savita, please come forward.
So not new, but for those of you that don't know me, I'm Tabitha Artuso. I work with the Pacific Northwest National Laboratory. I just wanted to highlight Ebony Mayhorn, who's the project PI for a project that I work on called Upskilling the Workforce in Disadvantaged Communities. We have reached the feedback portion of that project, and we are seeking feedback from community-based organizations that either have current workforce development programs or are interested in workforce development programs. So we've got some feedback forms. We also are doing interviews right now. So if your organization, or if you know anybody who might be interested, if you could shoot me an email and I will put it in the chat, that would be awesome.
That will be helpful. Thank you. Yes, Joe, do you also want to share something?
Yeah, so on the 17th, they announced the 2024 benefit FOA award selections, whatever you want to call it. And Renewability led one that we're teaming with, where there'll be at least one or two buildings where we are looking at low to moderate income families and multifamily to do space heating, space cooling, and domestic hot water heating with our drain source heat pump water heater technology I've been talking about in previous presentations as well. So I'm really excited to be working towards doing more with that technology for the low to moderate income family areas.
Thank you so much for that update. We'll keep in mind. So yes, moving forward, we have the presentation by Lucy de Barbaro. It's on the E3 Building Upgrades Initiative. Lucy, if you want to take control, you can. And if you want me to just run the slides, you can let me know.
Could you quickly instruct me how to take control? Take control. I see it. All right. Okay, surely. Is it looking good now? Yeah, advancing?
Absolutely.
Yeah, okay, very good. So I will be presenting about E3 Buildings Upgrade Initiative. And this is actually initiative that is funded by U.S. Department of Energy Building Technology Office and administered by NREL. And we have Andrew Winslow with us today, who is over there, who is our regional navigator for several, actually 9 teams that are in the northeast region of the US and are participating in this initiative. So basically there were, 360 applications, but 45 teams advanced to and receive phase 1 prize. And then we worked for this entire year, almost year, to do the planning and development of campaigns and our initiatives. And we are, in the process of moving forward with buildings upgrades. So the goal is to advance energy efficiency and efficient electrification in like equity-centered buildings, meaning we actually exclusively work in Justice 40 communities. So I am representing E3, one of the team members and kind of lead of this initiative's application. And we have 3 community-based organizations on our team and 6 nonprofit developers and installation contractor of all things. Okay, so the price details. So as I said, equity-centered, energy efficiency are the goals, reducing greenhouse gas emissions and electrification. And we also, in addition to price funding, receive 140 hours of technical assistance per phase, right? So we are learning together. Okay. I will introduce briefly what my community groups are and what is our major idea for this initiative. Every team that won has slightly different concept and works in slightly different scenarios you can imagine, but here is ours. So we are located in Pittsburgh region. We have 3 community groups: East Hills Consensus Group, Hazelwood Initiative, and Sharpsburg neighborhood organizations. And those organizations have been working in their respective communities sometimes for years. They have major achievements, including visioning and creation of neighborhood plans, greater neighborhood plans or visions. And in particular, Hazelwood Initiative, pictured here, some of the folks from, as well as with our senator, I believe, what Hazelwood Initiative is doing. They are also a real estate, developer, and have like 65 rental units that they recently acquired, in fact, to prevent displacement from this up-and-coming neighborhood in Pittsburgh that is likely to see some gentrification forces. And so they are trying to preserve affordable homeownership and avoid displacement, and work with other partners on our team to rehabilitate homes and so forth. So what in case of East Hills community, East Hills is located in a different place and has a different set of problems. It is a community that actually sees loss of residents and displacement due to deferred lack of maintenance on homes and degradation of housing stock and sort of vacant houses being abandoned and the roofs leaking and impacting the overall feel for the community. So they are, they're trying to address those issues, and they have also a vision for the community. Here are the developers, nonprofit developers on our team. So those folks who work on the vacant home rehabs and sort of helping to prop up the aging housing stock in Pittsburgh region. As you can imagine, this is a steel city that actually quite shrunk since the time of steel production, and we have excess of vacant housing, but the vacant housing is not in a good condition. And so we have secured participation of these partners. We have memorandum of understanding for working together, and what they bring to the team is that they have proven record of securing large streams of funding for the rehab, because this is an issue that is well known in Pittsburgh, and there is like political and financial support for doing this work. And then they also create partnerships with governance structures with those community groups. So the communities or representatives of communities are involved either on the board that are set up, on the boards that are set up as partnerships, or the nonprofit works with the existing community leadership and board, or there are multiple models. We also have Community Land Trust, which is another organization that tries to preserve affordability by putting homes in the land trust, such that the home's value will forever be kept limited. I mean, the cost of a possible resale will always stay low, therefore increasing the chance for affordability for local existing residents. So we have, they also bring, capacity and ability to rehab those homes, right? This is pretty essential. And so my work with those nonprofit developers, or E3's work, consists of bringing additional technical expertise and tools on energy efficiency and knowledge of more modern solutions like heat pumps, which those organizations typically did not embrace. And so I did study in 2021-22, and they only finished homes received only 2.8 score, home energy score, on the scale of 1 to 10. So they were basically not rehabilitated to energy efficient standard. And none of them deployed heat pumps at all, right? So we are trying to change this. So this is the initiative where we see the potential to a 30% improvement in energy efficiency, but we kind of need to enable it. And we are doing this by bringing a portion of the building's upgrade funding to 20,000 per project to move us to basically allow those developers to proceed without, long delayed, I don't know, renegotiating of their existing funding with their existing funders, or sometimes there is simply not enough funding to accomplish all the rehab that has to happen. So we see this as a way forward, and we also do measurement, quality assurance, vet contractors, and so forth. So this is our model for the rehabs. And so I have two examples, I believe, or one or two examples for how this looks in practice. So we looked at the scope that the developer proposed for this particular home, and we changed gas hot water heater to heat pump water heater. They did basically nothing in the attic portion of this home, whereas we proposed air sealing, insulating, building out additional framing the walls, gable walls, and adding insulation such that attic is completely insulated now. And you can see it in this picture. This is like, project in progress. Insulator just finished, dense packing the walls. Then we upgraded from proposed baseboard electric heating. This is 2024 project, and they still installed baseboard electric heating. And we therefore said we have to switch to heat pump, ductless heat pump for the attic. And we are removing and closing 2 chimneys, reducing stack effect that they also wouldn't have, right? Because they were still going to use one of the chimneys for gas hot water heater. So anyways, we also installed 3 pane windows. And because we are doing those changes only as we pay only for the cost delta compared to the original proposal, we can actually do it with pretty low investment. This total project cost is $18,500. And so we consider this a very effective way to improve these homes. And in fact, I modeled in home energy score this basic electric heating would be very costly for the low-income homeowner, and we are changing it. My modeling shows that the savings would be $1,493 a year, and 34% reduction in energy use compared to what the developer would have done without us. Okay, and we also have a community campaign, which we developed with help and input and sort of decision-making power with East Hills Consensus Group. And this is our campaign. So basically we offer participants in this, we offer this in one particular neighborhood at this time, East Hills, and we offer residents in this neighborhood electric heat pump water heater at no cost to them. And the participants must have old gas hot water heater, or electric, but almost nobody does, meet space and electrical requirements, and be willing to share their utility bills, apply for rebates, and engage in brief non-invasive feedback survey. So this was our, basic initiative for like a community-wide, open to whoever is able to receive this kind of upgrade. And so we decision-making power by this community, they were very firm on the topic of that there should be no cost to the residents, or this, in this case, actually, we are starting with homeowners, so they have to be homeowner. Because they said our residents or our homeowners will just basically not be interested. We have community that 80% of residents are below 200% of federal poverty guideline. And so, they also were instrumental in this idea. Like they said, okay, we'll bring up, some homeowners to you to see what they think of your initiative, right? Like how to test it out, to get their feedback. And so we indeed had a meeting with about 10 such residents, and we changed our approach to utility rebate. We found that residents were resistant. We were asking them originally to pay the $300 upfront when the project is finished, and then seeking this rebate reimbursement from the utility later, like within 2 months, they might have received the $300 back. And the residents actually pushed back. They didn't trust the utility would deliver this rebate. They were very adamant about it. So in place, we contacted utility. Utility agreed to pay the rebate directly to the contractor. So the homeowner is kind of kept out of, of seeing this rebate being implemented, and yet receiving, the program is receiving rebate and help in financing. And in fact, this utility company is also helping us. At least they promised that they would help us with half of the payment for the hot water heat pump for residents with 150%, below 150% area poverty guideline. That is because they're interested in actually in Pennsylvania, they are mandated to reduce energy use. Anyways, we presented some arguments with them and they bought it. So let's hope and keep fingers crossed that it really works. So we spent some time on the technology selection. So given that the housing here may not all have updated electrical panels, may have also small service, and may need additional panel extensions and whatnot. We read from the slipstream and other studies from Midwest that we could expect additional costs for upgrading this electrical not infrastructure, but whatever electrical systems, if we want to install hot water heat pumps. And therefore, studying this further, we decided to opt for 120 volt plug-in models. And I studied California model and I studied the Midwest, and it appears that those 120 volts, first of all, use even less energy than 220. Secondly, which is even better. Secondly, they appear to be working and delivering heat. We have those additional strategies listed here of how we will, how we will assure that hot water heater needs are met for our residents. So we'll be, trying to always use the dedicated 120 volt line because it has slightly higher water recovery than. If not, then we will do mixing valve. We'll always install mixing valve on those so that we can, have higher tank temperature and deliver more water. And then if the home already had a 240 volt circuit, we would install 240 volt equipment. All right, so, and we also will always upsize by at least 10 gallons. So those are our strategies. I'm curious if the team here has feedback on this, but maybe after I finish. And here is the cost breakdown for the community campaign with hot water heaters. So we are paying approximately, this is the cost. We are working with one large installer who already works with a utility company. So this is a convenient partner. And this is the rebate. Oh dear, I'm trying to click on it. This is the rebate. This is the additional financing that the utility promised us. This is the funding we'll currently provide from buildings up funds, but hope to maybe still utilize rebates for hot water heat pumps when they become available. And then homeowner pays nothing. There is no utility cost impact because we are changing gas to electric. Electric utility rate is much higher per unit of energy. We see no benefit, but also no increase. And then annual maintenance costs, we also list as zero because this is basically washing or cleaning reusable filter. I'm curious to hear if there's any feedback on this. This is like, we are still learning, but I also asked for meeting with this group or whatever with some representatives of organizations that are involved in hot water heat pumps for the reason that we are hearing about, that there's a, observed, and this is anecdotal, but nevertheless.
Lucy, I just want to jump in.
Yeah.
I think that this might be a good time to break for if anyone had questions about your program, and then we can move into
Before
this.
we get to the topic.
Yeah, because I think we're changing.
Those are two different topics. That fair enough. Okay, so let's take a little break. I am bringing some other issue up, and that's the main question I had to this team, but I am happy to answer about the program.
Thank you so much, Lucy. Yes, yes, it's open for questions. Tabitha, you have a question?
Yeah, can you talk through just kind of all at once what the funding breakdown was in terms of funding streams?
Well, we have, you have the costs and finances listed per house here, right? We receive $400,000 in prize money from buildings upgrade for each phase. And part of this funding is for staff and administrative cost. We are also fundraising for, more funding for projects, and yeah. So currently we have some reserved funds from phase 1 funding for the hot water heat pump installations.
Okay, so when you had said that the cost associated with the upgrade was just the additional cost early on in your
projects that are with rehabs, sorry,
yes.
vacant home rehabs. Okay, so this is the hot water heater. Okay, so in my hot water, sorry, in my work with nonprofit developers, we bring $20,000 to the typical cost of rehab that is, between $150,000 to $250,000.
And is
So those funds are secured by nonprofit developers. I have currently they received a bunch of funding from ARPA, which is, whatever, this is distributed by our Pittsburgh Urban Redevelopment Authority. They also receive funding from Federal Home Loan Bank. They receive funding from Pennsylvania Housing Finance Agency. They receive funding from local philanthropic organizations. We have Heinz and Richard K. Mellon foundations here. Whatever, there's different sources of funding.
Okay, thank you.
But as I said, the funding does not appear to ever result in a good outcome for efficiency. There could be different reasons for this. Part of it is lack of knowledge. Part of it is, insufficient funding and lack of verification. All of those contribute a little, but we are trying to change all these elements, and we also bring this additional funding. Yeah, go ahead.
Yes, Joe, you have a question?
Yeah, I guess I would like you to check into, and I apologize, I'm not 100% sure, but I'm pretty sure the IRA allows up to $4,000 per electrification task on these. And the reason I bring that up is you're not wrong. Currently, the 120 volt heat pump water heater has a larger heat pump on it than the 240 volt units. So you do have a little bit more capacity in the heat pump. But I don't see, if you're thinking about future proofing, it would be, since you can carry more amps on 240 volts than you can on 120 volts, I would think the manufacturers of the 240 volt any day of the week could put a larger compressor on it, and they essentially will have something at or larger capacity than the 120 volt heat pump water heaters. So if you can find the initial funding up front for electrification, I think you're going to be helping people down the road. As you max out the amps you can put towards a heat pump. You're always going to be able to put more amps towards a heat pump on 240 volts than you can on 120.
Yes, but panel upgrade, well, sure. First of all, the rebates of the IRA are currently not available in our state.
Oh, okay. I didn't know that. So good you looked into it.
Okay.
Then yeah. I'm just preaching to a different choir.
Yes, and we are following this very well. We will try to leverage those when they become available. We hope also to use the homes rebates for, because we are achieving in excess of 30% improvements of performance. So we definitely will be trying to use all the available IRA funding, but currently this is what we have. Go ahead, next person, maybe.
If I could sneak in another question,
Sure,
or maybe not. Maybe that's not appropriate. Yeah, I was just curious about how you figured out that there would be no increase or decrease to the operational costs going from gas to electric resistance.
Well, we have looked at cost estimate using Energy Guide. That's number
Okay.
one. We have also looked at studies. We evaluate multiple studies and their reported costs, and we rescale those to our local utility rates.
Okay. Fair enough. The one thing sometimes people miss is in cold climates, the heat is going to come from the space. So you have to pay to heat the space first. Not all the studies out there are tracking that when they're reporting things.
Yeah, we kind of consider that we are most similar to the Midwest study for 120 volt. And those heat pumps are always located in basement, and our basement are always unintentionally heated.
Okay. So semi-conditioned.
Like, yeah. I always unintentionally heated. There is never any thermal separation between the basement and the house. And in the summer, they have, they retain the temperature of the ground. More or less.
More or less, yep.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
Sure.
Very good answers.
Thank you, Joe, for bringing up the IRA point. Amy, you have a question?
Well, I also want to congratulate you on getting this, the prize. It's wonderful. I'm a resident of Point Breeze in Pittsburgh. So this is like my neighborhood you're talking about. And it's really exciting to see some investment in a place that's been historically redlined and underinvested like forever. So thank you and congratulations. I think you bring up a couple really interesting things about split incentives that we see in the development market, like the thought that electric baseboard heating is going in a house, an uninsulated house in Pittsburgh is like, it kind of makes me flutter a little bit. Like, how could that even be happening these days? Because it's like there's that split incentive where it's the cheapest thing to put in up front, yet you see the people that are going to be burdened with electric bills that are going to be more than their mortgage if they even have one. And so I guess one of my questions is like, how do you see, and I have a couple questions, but this is one, like, how do you see this like working to educate other developers of affordable housing on ways that are going to help eliminate long-term energy burden and not just like create more affordable housing now, because I think we got to start thinking more long-term. So I'll start there, and then I have some 120 volt things to share too.
So obviously, we are trying to as well to impact the larger nonprofit developer community. Our vision is to create forum for information sharing and kind of illuminate the difference and illuminate, how critically important it is to pay attention to efficiency and impact on equity. This is like a non-existent topic. If you ever read about affordable housing in Pittsburgh being reported in the Post-Gazette or by announcements of the funding, and the energy efficiency word is never ever uttered. It is amazing. We are on the mission to change that. Okay, and we work with 6 developers. There's certainly much larger number of homes that are rehabbed. Some maybe 300 to 400 homes per year. Maybe 200 to 400. It depends on the funding and cycles. But we collectively, those developers who signed up with us already would be responsible from 60 to 100 of those. Okay, so we are making advances. I hope, even though we are at the starting stage, we really hope to document and also illuminate all those things.
Yeah, and as you do, one of the things that I've seen after upgrades in those old leaky houses in Pennsylvania is just the comfort like you no longer have snow accumulation coming through the cracks in your windows and things like that. And I think helping to collect those stories about the comfort and the health of the people that are in the buildings themselves and yeah, anyway, so I'm glad to hear that that's happening. And I mean, I think the lack of trust that you see with the utility there also probably would extend to the government as well. You know what I mean? Like there's just an overwhelming lack of trust that we've found. At least I work with Vidisha at New Buildings Institute. But we've been working with community organizations where it's very hard to kind of help facilitate that relationship with the utility or even the local government because there is such a lack of trust there. So I'm not surprised to see that. And I wonder, I like the approach that you made as far as like having that all happen in the background. You know what I mean? So you almost don't have to bring it up, but then you can start showing that track record so that you can help increase that trust. And then I definitely was going to bring up the IRA as well. So I'm glad you're on that. And it's just a matter, but I was actually involved in the 120 volt. I'm the 120 volt heat pump water heater project in California. And one thing I want to make sure you're very clear on is part of our selection for who got those units had to be a small household size. So the 120 volt product and the number of occupants and the flow out rates, like how much hot water they're going to need over the course of the day, is like a really, really important technical thing. I think the Midwest slipstream also, reinforced this idea for smaller households. It's probably a better choice. So my question for you is like, the house that I'm seeing in that picture looks like a 4-bedroom or what, you know what I mean? Like, so the occupant size and the number of people that are there and actually matters a lot whenever we're talking about the equipment. So I don't know if that came through in the reports or in your work in the past, but are you collecting information about, are these like elderly people that are like living 1 or 2 people, or are they, people that have like their teenage grandkids show up because look out, that thing might not work so well.
We are doing a little bit of an interview with the residents who are signed up or will sign up. This is a good point, and I will take it to my team for additional consideration. I know currently we are only working with folks who are either single or doubles and are seniors. Currently, this is the particular group that was first to volunteer to be our testing ground, and so. Yes, I thank you for this, and I will consider this aspect in particular. Okay.
Well, and I'll follow up with you after. So it would be nice to hear more about what's going on and if there's any other support New Buildings Institute can provide.
Sure. And I see that there was questioned by Bill, is energy burden ever discussed? So as I was saying, the energy efficiency is never. Energy burden is discussed, in the public forum or among stakeholders, but somehow the two are not paired with each other.
Thank you for bringing up that question. Tabitha, you have a question?
More of a comment. I wanted to plus one to Amy's comments. I also work on a 120 volt heat pump water heater project. And I would also caution you to have a replacement protocol in place, especially if you're deploying to seniors. Depending on the unit you select, you may or may not have backup heat. If you don't have backup heat, if the water heater goes out for any reason, no hot water. So making sure that you have a plan of replacement in case of a situation where the water goes out, especially during the cold months, because it's,
But
I would
can
say
I
it's
ask
likely.
what backup heat are you talking about?
So for example, so Bream has a 120 volt heat pump water heater
Yes.
that does not have backup heat. So it does
They
not have
don't have
backup electric
resisting,
resistance. Yeah.
right? They don't have, yes,
Yeah.
that is correct.
So if the power goes out, if it's throwing an error and the heat pump isn't operating for many reasons, some of them random things that are just tech-based, homeowners don't notice that they're out until they're out of hot water. And by the time they're out of hot water, you kind of have to be ready to get them their hot water. And so there's not a lot of lead up time between when you get a frantic call that they're cold and don't have hot water to when they're expecting that replacement. So I would just caution,
Well,
because this was a growing pain for us.
well, I would be interested in any specific data on the problem. So definitely, and I understand the difference between 240 volt heat pump that has much higher, much faster replenishment rate, right? So this is the issue here. Both would be, whether they have a heating element matters, because that speeds up the rise of temperature. But at the same time, if there is no electricity, nobody has hot water, no matter.
Right. So yeah, less of a if the electricity goes out, that we have seen some errors where there's a power surge, the power goes out and the unit doesn't come back online for whatever reason. But A.O. Smith's unit, their 120 volt heat pump water heater does have backup resistance. So there is, at least for their unit, kind of that buffer for if something happens with the compressor, or if the heat pump just isn't operational for one reason or another, that unit can still provide at least some amount of hot water. Whereas without the backup resistant heating, when anything goes wrong with the unit and the unit isn't operational for any reason, they're out of hot water.
Right. So for overall, I think this topic of quality of the hot water heat pumps is something that I don't want to lose the possibility to ask those questions of this team. And I would like, maybe to, if possible, to move to this particular topic. One second. Yeah.
Joshua, we can definitely take up your question. We'll just let Lucy finish off her slides.
I'll just put my comment in the chat. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you so much, Joshua.
Okay, I appreciate. So basically, I list here, and I provided a link in the PowerPoint of. First of all, we are obligated by our program to provide both consumer protection and risk assessment, and we are hearing from contractors with whom I've worked for over 10 years, who have been dedicating themselves to climate mitigation and kind of advancement of efficiency and whatnot, heat pump, who are saying they do not, in their good conscience, recommend installing hot water heat pump, period, because of the failure rates that they're observing among their, customers. So this is, they say, this wasn't the case 4 years, 5 years ago. Now the equipment, somehow manufacturing has gone down. This is what they say. Here are the two different sources. You could read the comments among different contractors sharing it on LinkedIn, and this one wrote some article. I am worried about this, and I just would like to hear what this team knows about it. And, I have one more follow-up, slide, which is what data do we have for those most recent, or any kind of manufacturing failures, callbacks, and so forth. Could we gather such data? If we don't have this data, could one learn from manufacturers on their rates or in some other way? So those are the questions that I'm hoping to hear something from people.
Sure. Amy, you have a question and Tabitha, you could go next after Amy.
I think what I have is reassurance to you that heat pump water heaters work. And however, they do need to be installed properly. And but I think once and it's kind of that the cost of change, right? So the beginning is harder for people to do something that's new. And I will admit, plumbers have to learn the electricity part of this. And but I think what we found is that the products are reliable, and when trained installers are installing them properly, that they work and will meet all of their warranty requirements. So if you can hear a little bit of reassurance in that, and also the offer of support to help train the installers properly, because they require airflow around them in order to work properly. I know in Pittsburgh, a lot of the basements are open, even the Pittsburgh potties. I mean, in Pittsburgh, even the Pittsburgh potties are open, right? So like there's a lot of airflow, but there are appropriate installation techniques that need to be done. But when they're done, they work. And it's a matter of really getting those installers trained and comfortable in putting them in. So anyway, if it's any comfort, that's there. And I know that AWHI and all of the partners that are on this call and others have really good installation guidance. And we can even, hook you up with manufacturers or whatever to really help make sure that these early adopters are done right, because the last thing you want is one of them not to work and then it spoils the whole, what do they say? One rotten apple spoils the bunch. And we don't want that to happen. So anyway, for what it's worth, go for it. These things work and we'll help you make sure they do properly. Thank you. Thanks so much for the presentation. I'm going to have to run at the top of the hour, but I just really appreciate it. Thanks.
Sure, thank you.
Tabitha, you could go next with your question.
Yeah, so I also want to thank you for the presentation. This is a really interesting conversation too. Disconnected from my role at PNNL, I think the feedback I would give you on looking for numbers, rates of failure, it's going to be hard to come by. Most data is going to be anonymized when it's published because we don't want to create an environment where one brand is synonymous with a negative thing based on a single set of data. So it's unlikely that you're going to hear anything outside of anecdotally in terms of, oh, what manufacturer has this rate of failure versus this manufacturer having this rate of failure, because people typically just don't publish those. What I will say though, to Amy's point, they do work and they work well, but they are not the same technology. It's a different type of technology and different considerations need to be made. Sizing is incredibly important for these units. Like Amy was saying, if you have high occupancy, there is not a unit, there is not a 120 volt heat pump water heater unit that is big enough for that application. If you have people who like to take long baths every day, these units just aren't for them. So there's some occupancy considerations. There's also and I think we talk about this all the time with like energy efficiency measures, is people tailoring their behaviors. So some feedback we've heard from participants with this is, oh, I've figured out that I can't take as long of a shower. And for some people, that's totally fine. And they're like, happy to do it. That's just my life now. I take a shorter shower. And some people, I would say especially those that have grown accustomed to tankless hot water heaters, instant hot water heaters, they are they find it a little more jarring to modify their hot water behavior. But I don't think that conversation is in vain. I think it's a conversation we should continue to have, because we do all need to modify our behaviors in order to actually make the future for humanity as a whole possible. And so I think really like, yeah, Joshua in the chat just said upsizing. Upsizing is the way to go for these units. Lower occupancies with not a lot of children, smaller homes. These are a good fit, but also educating the occupants that there might need to be some modifications to behaviors if they do want this unit, if this is the way to go for their finances, to electrify, to get that rebate, whatever it is that their driving factor is. Maybe they don't take the third bath that week when they're running their dishwasher. And so yeah, just some other considerations, as well as the installers, that I think are important for these units in particular.
Thank you for that, Tabitha. I think Joshua had a question, but he might have just left the meeting. We are almost running short of time. I just wanted to echo the point that, yes, criteria for selection of the unit based on the household and number of people could definitely play a vital part when it comes to sort of getting the metrics right on the efficiency part. So maybe this is something that you might want to go back and work with your team and see if the 120 volt for this particular household with the number of people and the usage of water, depending on that, it's like the size right fit. And when it comes to hot showers and usage, I just want to add one more point to Tabitha's note that this is something really subjective. So this is not like one can really calculate, because even if you go for a heat pump water heater unit with a 1-star rating, it says these many liters in 1 hour. You cannot really assure that this could actually fit a family of 4, because this is totally subjective. How much would one want to go for a hot water shower, for an hour, 30 minutes, or as Abhita mentioned, it could be just 10 minutes. Someone could be okay. So these are some of the some are subjective, but some criteria definitely make a difference when you're going into the metrics of energy efficiency. So that's my final thought on this. If anyone else has a thought, please put it in your chat. We're running out of time, so I want to be respectful of everyone's time. Lucy, if you have any final closing notes that you wish to convey to the team?
Well, I would like to still ask the team to consider, because I heard Tabitha say this is anecdotal, but at the same time, I also get a sense that awareness of those failures is there, right? Even she specifically spoke this failure, right? And in an earlier time, if the electricity was out, or right, it could be people wouldn't be aware that the hot water heat pump is failing and so forth. So I would like to receive data, whether it's any data your teams may have, whether it's on a specific manufacturer or not, it does not matter to me as much. I would just like to understand how frequently do those issues arise based on prior studies. So if I can ask for this additional follow-up and some sharing of this information, or looking for this information, because it appears that maybe those failures are more frequent more recently. So
Sure.
again, also evaluating those things with time, in the time periods.
I
Mhm.
this is definitely a topic which is like worth considering, and I'm sure people are looking into it. It, like Tabitha mentioned, this might be at the moment, there might not be many studies that have been done to sort of understand what the issue is and how this issue can be corrected. But I hope that moving forward down the line, definitely there will be some studies which could not just identify the issues, but also come up with some strategic solutions, which might be helpful again for the consumers at the
Well,
end.
or at least bringing it to attention to folks who might be responsible for the manufacturing or whatnot. So I wanted to quickly answer Bill that yes, in our rehab projects, we always install 240 volts, period. This is the only one. Because we want to be, provide as much comfort and availability of hot water as possible. And we do not know what the family situation will be in that home. So we just basically take the approach of always doing the 240. Okay.
Thank you, Lucy.
All right. I mean, it was interesting. Thank you all.
So much for your presentation. This was really incredible discussion that we had today. Andy, do you want to add anything to this?
No, Lucy, great job. And thanks for all the excellent feedback that the team gave.
Sure. Thank you so much. I just want to hit up on a few things before we close down for the meeting. There's a party going on in town, and it's about the uptick in the sales when it comes to heat pump water heaters. So in case you have missed out on the party deets, please do click on this link and read the blog that is on the AWHI website. The webinar is scheduled for 2nd of October, which is exactly a week from now. And you could just hover this link and you could hit up the registration, and I hope to see some of you there. So it's going to be the same time, 10 to 11 a.m. Pacific time zone. And we have Monica and Sandy from our equity working group as panelists for this particular webinar on clean energy workforce diversity. Also, the next meeting is tentative for 30th October. I will keep you posted in case there's a change of plan. And lastly, I just read this post on LinkedIn today that if you could be anything in this world, you should be a person who ends the meeting early, but I'm already late. So on that note, on behalf of Dipti and myself, I want to thank you all for staying up till the end. And thank you so much for joining us. I'll see you next month. Have a
Thank
good rest,
you.
Thanks, everyone.
everyone.
Thank you.